Now back to Roanoke, Virginia, where yesterday 2 journalists were killed on air during a live interview. The gunman, their former colleague, who later turned the gun on himself. Vester Flanagan had a history of angry outbursts in the workplace, and yesterday he took that anger to a new level when he forced the world to be his witness, showing up at a live broadcast of WDBJ's TV morning program to shoot reporter Allison Parker along with cameraman Adam Ward on live TV. Not only that, but Flanagan recorded the murder himself on some type of body camera, posting it on Facebook. The video has since been removed. Well, since the tragedy, Allison's father, Andy Parker, has been telling the media his daughter's death was only possible due to one fatal reality in the United States: easy access to guns. He says it's now his mission to change that.
If I have to be the John Walsh of gun control and, look, I'm for the Second Amendment, but there has to be a way to force politicians that are cowards and in the pockets of the NRA to come to grips and make sense, have sensible laws so that crazy people can't get guns. I'm challenging you, the media, because again, this is one of your own. And I know how the business works. This is it's a great story for a couple of days, and then it goes to the back burner and nothing happens. But I can promise you, and I can promise the American people, I'm not going to rest until I see something get done here.
Well, earlier I spoke with Leah Barrett, Executive Director of New Yorkers Against Gun Violence, to expand on this issue. I started by asking her what she thought about Mr. Parker's challenge to the media.
Well, yes, I mean, the gun violence in America is a sad reality. Every single day, 88 people die from gun violence. You hear about the high-profile shootings. This one was particularly horrendous because it was on live television. But, we have this going on every single day. And I'll tell you why we have it, is we have too many guns that are not regulated in this country. All you have to do is look state to state. New York has strong gun laws, which is why we have relatively low gun death rates. In fact, we're the 3rd lowest in the nation. That's because we have background checks on all gun sales. We limit high-capacity magazines. We have licensing for handguns. We have renewable permits. Every 5 years, you have to get them renewed. We have common-sense gun laws. It doesn't violate anyone's rights. No one's guns are taken away. But we regulate them to make sure they don't fall into the wrong hands. And who are the wrong hands? Angry people, people with serious mental illness, people with violent criminal convictions, people who are domestic abusers, and certainly children should not have access to guns.
Well, you mentioned background checks, which is what the media talks about. They seem to focus on that one regulation when talking about gun control. They were mandated back in the 90s under Clinton. But how effective are they, considering we know that even Dylan Roof, the individual who killed 9 people in North Carolina earlier this year, he was able to pass a background check, buy a gun, and carry out his attack. And the FBI even admitted the background checks failed in this case. So do they even go far enough when it comes to specifically background checks?
Well, in the case of Dylan Roof, he didn't pass a background check. What happened is a 3-day period lapsed. And what the law says is if you can't complete a background check within 3 days, the person automatically gets the gun. So that's a real problem. Walmart announced yesterday that it was going to stop selling AR-15 military-purposed assault rifles in its stores, which is welcome news. But back in 2002, Walmart made the decision that it would only sell guns after a background check had been completed, even if it took longer than the 3 days. So yes, to answer your question, background checks do work. Are they going to stop all gun violence? No. But in the case of the shooter yesterday, it was known that he had anger issues. So there is a unique law that passed in California last year, which is called a gun violence restraining order, similar to a domestic violence restraining order. What that means is the family and friends of a person who is disturbed, who has anger issues, who might have other things going on, and they know he has a gun, they can have the gun, they petition a judge and have the gun removed while the person seeks help and treatment. And this is a kind of common sense law, keeping guns out of dangerous hands, out of people who have anger issues. Because if they don't have a gun to mow down a bunch of people, then their choices are limited. They could use another weapon, certainly a knife, a baseball bat, but chances are they're not going to create as much death and destruction and carnage as we witness in this country every day. And Clinton said back in 1992, when he was running for president, because he wanted his campaign to focus on the economy, they had a tagline: "It's the economy, stupid." Well, I have a message for Congress: it's the guns, stupid. So get onto it and start regulating. The third word in our Second Amendment, which people quote as though it's scripture, and it's not, it was just made by a bunch of men in the 18th century, is a well-regulated. So what about well-regulated does Congress not understand?
Well, speaking of Congress, we know they really haven't been able to make any progress on this issue recently. My question is, how can you even begin to go up against the gun lobby in this country? Because the NRA is so unique in the sense that it's not a corporate lobby, but its power is rooted in its membership, its massive membership base, which means they really have permeated culture in this country. It's almost a social club as much as it is a lobby. How do you approach that, especially when they have these constituents that they can mobilize across the country to go after any member of Congress who even wants to make a small reform on the issue?
Well, first let me tell you that it's not just a member-based organization. It's actually funded in large part by the gun manufacturers. Let's be honest about this. Smith & Wesson just wrote a $1 million check to the National Rifle Association lobbying arm, the NRILA. And that is the arm of the organization that is lobbying very fiercely in Congress and threatening lawmakers if they dare to vote for anything as anodyne and as common sense is making sure that guns don't fall into the hands of criminals, terrorists, domestic abusers, or seriously mentally ill. I mean, they are threatening to run candidates against anyone who sticks their neck out to vote for common sense and protect the public safety of Americans. So, the gun lobby is a corporate lobby. It is a trade association. And the NRA boasts 4 million members. Well, okay, maybe they do, but we're a country of 300 million people. So what we actually need to do is get people to start making their voices heard. And if you're angry about this issue, that it keeps popping up in these horrendous shootings, but it's happening every single day in big cities in America, and suicide.
I unfortunately have to jump in, but I think we can end on that note, letting viewers know who care about the issue. Obviously, like you said, it is something that we deal with every day in the United States, what they can do. So thank you so much, Leah Barrett, Executive Director of New Yorkers Against Gun Violence.
Thank you.